Hey everyone, so I am off to Montreal, Canada, to hang out with some really cool people. We're gonna talk about some really cool things, probably while a camera's pointed at us, and I want to make sure that I don't miss anything that you think is interesting, or I don't skip a point that could have been really cool to talk about. So, if you live in Montreal and you're wondering if there's gonna be a meetup, I don't know. I think maybe. I have to talk to Chase more and see if it's feasible. Because, like, it's way too cold to, like, do something outside. But that's kind of how meetups normally are. Meetups are normally like, hey, let's all meet in this park. Um, so if we, like, met in a coffee shop, um, that could be okay. But also, what if Montreal turns into Dublin and, like, 70 people show up and then the coffee shop people get really angry because it's super crowded and hard to control all the people, and then I don't know. So I'm still working out the logistics is basically what I'm trying to say. But I'm in town the tomorrow through end of day the 17th. I leave the 18th, but it's like super early in the morning, so that if there was going to be a meetup, those are the days would be within those 3 days, and most likely after like school and work get out because it's a weekday, right? Aren't we in the weekdays? What, I don't know. Um, and oh, my skin is so dry and therefore so itchy. So I've just been itching my skin. It feels so good. I need lotion. Anyway, so I think a couple videos we're going to be doing is one that I've been so frustrated recently with some phenomenons that happen within like the young trans guy community where they think like I don't know, it's just there's like this toxic masculinity that I see so often amongst those people, and I want to kind of like explore why that might exist. And toxic masculinity, for those who don't know, isn't just like super masculinity that's bad, because it's bad to be masculine. I feel like a lot of people think that's what toxic masculinity is, but that's not what it is. There's nothing wrong with being masculine. There's nothing like inherently bad about, like, I don't know, liking traditionally masculine things like wanting muscles or driving cool cars, or that's not bad. There's nothing toxic about that. What's toxic is when you think that's the only way to be a man, and therefore you put other people down who are men but don't like or do those things, you know? Toxic masculinity is making fun of a boy who likes nail polish. Toxic masculinity is telling people, you better fucking be muscly if you're gonna be a guy, because otherwise you're not worth it. So that's what toxic masculinity is. And I see it a lot, like on Instagram, um, in young trans kids. I also see this idea of like, there's this idea that being trans is the same as like being a tortured soul. Like, you would never wish being trans on someone. Um, which I think is just a weird thing to put out there so vehemently. Like, yeah, I wonder. I don't think I would ever like wish being trans on someone. It's not like inherently super duper awesome, like the same as wishing somebody randomly finds $1 million. That's an amazing thing that you could wish on someone. Wishing someone was trans would be random. But I also don't think it's like this horrible plague where therefore your life is miserable and awful, and so you would never wish it on anyone. Um, I see a lot of trans guys who think the only way to be trans, or that if you're trans you must like fucking hate that you're trans, that you just wish you were cis so hard, that you hate your body, that there's no way to be proud of your body or your body parts, that you are just miserable and tortured because you aren't like cis. And it makes people who maybe have dealt with a lot of their dysphoria, maybe like, and there's so many ways to do that, but perhaps they have gotten like some kind of surgery, or perhaps they have started going by the right pronouns, or whatever. Anybody who's like kind of like quelled their dysphoria a little and doesn't feel tortured, then starts to feel like a sham of a trans person, which I think is weird. It's like, I don't know, it's this message that like you can't be happy in trans. And I don't think that's true. I think you can have trans pride. I think you can love your body. I know a lot of trans guys I really, really like their downstairs just the way it is. Like, without having changed it at all. They like that, and that doesn't make them like not trans. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's just, you don't have to be trans and miserable. Like, if you're dealing with a lot personally, and you still are working on loving your body, or coming to terms with your trans identity, and you aren't very happy, that's where you're at. And I'm not saying that like you need to like be super secure in your body and have so much trans pride and things like that. But I do think for you to spread this message that like being trans is miserable is not productive or accurate. And it makes people who have like finally found peace, or finally like been able to cultivate some pride, then feel like not trans enough, essentially. So you can, I don't know, it really comes down to like, let people be, you know? Like if you're a trans human who's like really struggling with their transness, then that's where you're at. And you got to do what you got to do to be happy, and you have to deal with that in a way that feels right to you. I'm not going to tell you that you're a shitty trans person because you're dealing with internalized transphobia. No. Like, that would be wrong for me to do. Just like it would be wrong for you to tell me I better be more fucking miserable, otherwise I'm not really trans. You know what I mean? We're all just in different places. So that's going to be like one video. This whole like, this is how you trans, and if you don't trans my way, you're not transing. Then another one is about binary versus non-binary privilege and adversity, and just kind of comparing the experiences. Because there is some binary privilege, like for example, more people think that binary trans identities are valid than there are people who think non-binary trans identities are valid. I think it's hard to like blanket statement say that there are instances where non-binary people have privileges over binary people, but like on case-by-case basis, I think you can. Like, so for example, I have a friend who hates going to the doctor. They're a binary trans person, and they don't like going to the doctor because they cringe and die inside when their like assigned sex is being referred to. For me, it's not. I don't experience the same kind of reaction. And I think that's because I'm not a binary trans person. So I don't feel like such a jarring disconnect with my assigned sex. So that's kind of like a privilege I have. It's an experience that's easier for me. Same as like my name. If somebody were to slip up and say my name, it's not the worst. Like, I don't like it, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But I know that like a lot of trans guys who are stealth, like if you were to say their birth name or their dead name or whatever you want to call it, it would be the worst thing in the world, you know? Then a privilege that binary trans people can is they can be stealth. Oh, but you know what? I think that non-binary people can kind of be stealth too. Sort of. No, I don't think they can, because how would you stealthily... You could just be... It could be... harder to like clock you as trans as a non-binary person because people would just read you as probably your assigned sex, but not necessarily trying to be anything else, just maybe being androgynous or something. I don't know. A privilege that non-binary people could have. I'm just interested in comparing the experiences because sometimes I feel like we're so quick to like try to rank things in like this order of like um you know, straight people have it the easiest, gay people have it the second easiest, and bi people have it the third easiest because um we're all like racking up oppression points when kind of like these rankings are kind of silly and pointless. So the idea of like talking about our different privileges and different diversities we face reminds each other that there isn't like a solid ranking. It's not like, boy, non-binary people have it way harder than binary people, end of story. It's like, well, we have it a little easier in this way, but you have it a little easier in this way, and we're apples and oranges. Would kind of be the idea of the video. So, can you think of any like adversity that NB people face that binary people don't? And can you think of any privileges that NB people have that binary people don't? And then also flip flopped both ways. Okay. Yeah, you should let me know. Okay, bye.